This tale is from Russia, and it begins as the queen, dressed entirely in black, is seated in her chamber. She is mourning the death of her husband. The king was lost in battle, the queen mourned him for dead, till a messenger came to the castle with a note, and this is what it said. My love, I'm in a dungeon, in a kingdom far away. 3 long years I've suffered here, send without delay. A ransom of gold, sell our castle and all our kingdom's lands. Perhaps the gold you send will spare me from my captor's hands. He's alive, cried the queen, and she dried the tears which had run down her cheeks for 3 long years. And then a dark thought crossed her mind. What if his captor is cruel in his greed, and keeps both the ransom and the king? Indeed, it may not be wise to send the gold. No, now that I know my love is alive, I'll go there myself in a minstrel's disguise. And so the queen, she cut her hair, young boy's clothing did she wear. She took her lute from the shelf and set off in the moonlight by herself. She traveled with gypsies, she traveled with beggars. She sang as she wandered, the journey was long. She sang for the courage, she sang for the beauty, she sang for the power she knew in her song. Well, the sun beat down, her skin it turned brown, her cloak soon was tattered and torn. But at long last she came to the far distant kingdom. She stood at the prison walls, a lute in her hand. She went to the courtyard and began to sing her song of love and of longing, of moon and of stars, of joy and of sorrow and things of the heart. When the king heard the music of the minstrel boy, he brought him into the palace to sing. As reward for such a beautiful song, said he'd give him anything. So the queen, disguised as the minstrel boy, said, "It's lonely on the road. Could I have a prisoner from your dungeon to take with me when I go?" So the minstrel lad was led down to the dungeon, walked among the rows of gaunt, sorry prisoners chained to the wall. She came to her husband, he did not know her at all. With that dusty brown skin, she was dressed as a boy, tattered cloak pulled tight across her face. She pointed to him and his chains were undone, and they walked out of that dismal place. They walked out of that dismal place into the sunlight. He still did not know her, so she kept her secret as they journeyed along. They traveled with gypsies, they traveled with pilgrims. She sang as they wandered, the journey was long. She sang for the courage, she sang for the beauty, she sang for the power she knew in her soul. Well, at long last they came to the edge of his kingdom. He said, I'm no prisoner, lad. I'm the king of this realm. You'll be richly rewarded. What is it that you will have? A lute in her hand, she said, I want nothing, only your trust and your love. You go your way and I will go mine. We will meet again some time. The queen cut through the forest and arrived at the castle before the king. She took off her minstrel clothes, she dressed herself in royal robes, she covered up her close-cropped hair with a jeweled headdress and a crown. The king has returned, came the cry from the court, and all gathered around to hear his tale. I have been in a dungeon, in a kingdom far away. 3 long years I suffered there, and no ransom did she pay. The queen rushed to embrace him. He pushed her aside in a rage, saying, why did you desert me in my need? Did you not send the ransom because of your greed? She's a traitor, cried the ministers, and they pulled the king aside. Some cruel fate for the queen to decide. The queen returned to her chamber. She took off her royal robes. She dressed herself in minstrel clothes. She took her lute from the shelf and walked out of the castle by herself. Lute in her hand, she walked past the window and began to sing her song of love and of longing, of moon and of stars, of joy and of sorrow and things of the heart, invisible gifts women give to men, unrecognized, again and again and again and again and again. When the king heard the music of the minstrel boy, he said, bring that lad to me. It is he I must thank, for he saved my life. His music set me free. So the queen, disguised as the minstrel boy, was brought before them all. She pulled her cloak back from her face and gently let it fall. Behold, it's the queen, came the cry from the court. The king fell to his knees, his eyes welled with tears, and he bowed his head and he said, forgive me, please. How could I know? What could I say that would ever thank you enough? She said, all I ever asked of you was your trust and your love. Well, a great celebration took place that night. They sang until the dawn, and the queen and the king ruled wisely together for as long